My name is Katie Packham. I am originally from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and grew up there, went to college there, and when I was in college, I didn't think that I could be a working artist. I'd always been an artist ever since I was a kid. And so when I was in college, I took an interior design course, and for me, it was a good combination of right brain and left brain activities. I'm pretty equally yoked there. I liked the creative part of it. I liked the math and the codes and all of that. So that's what I got my degree in. And I moved to Reno, where I currently reside right now. I've been here, I think, 23 years. And so I got a job in interior design, but I also started a business painting murals and did that for many, many years. And then when I started experimenting with mosaics, that's where I got my passion to want to quit my day job and become a full-time artist. And so 14 years ago, I guess, I quit my day job at the design firm and continued on with murals, although I think it's been maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I quit doing murals completely and am just focusing on mosaics. And I've been teaching mosaics now for about 14, at this point it's been about 14 years. And the place where I was teaching mosaics, they decided to go to a different direction because they also had a mosaic supply company, and so they sold me that company in 2015. And at the time I was working from my home studio and learned very quickly that I needed a retail location. So I started off at a small place in what we call our little Midtown district here in Reno, and pretty much outgrew that within about a year. So we're technically in Sparks, which is just a neighboring community. It's kind of all one thing. Reno Sparks area. And so in that location that we're in now, we're in our 5th year, I'm able to encompass all of my loves. So mosaics, yoga, Reiki. I'm also a Reiki master and a yoga instructor. We're able to have a gift shop where we represent over 20, 25 local artisans. We have mosaic supply, stained glass supply. It's really evolved to be just a great little spot to nurture your soul. I'm mostly self-taught. I've taken a few courses here and there, but it's just been mainly a journey on my own.
I see that you work with very bright colors.
Okay, so on this side, I brought in some mosaics. I'm not at my studio today. My studio doesn't have great internet connection. I'm at my home, but yeah, you can see all around me. I love art with very bright colors.
Are there many types of mosaic available to you?
Absolutely, and I think that's my favorite part of mosaics is that the possibilities are endless of materials that you can work with, substrates that you can mosaic onto. Recently, I've been taking courses with Kelly Knickerbocker out of Seattle, and hers are very three-dimensional. You work directly into mortar versus gluing down mosaics onto a substrate and then grouting them. And it's opened so many doors. And, it's funny, I've been teaching all this time, 14, 15 years. And the one thing people always ask me is, aren't you creating competition? And I kind of laugh because for one thing, there's room for all of us in this world to make a living. And also, like I said, the possibilities are endless. None of my students' work looks anything like my work. And with all of the things that you can use to make a mosaic, I mean, it's basically a kind of a mixed media medium. And to me, that's what's exciting, is that it can always evolve.
Are there any hazards related to the cutting, to the working?
Yes. My fingers are always cut up because I'm cutting glass or cutting porcelain tiles or ceramics. And that's that's part of the nature of the beast. But that's okay. It's nothing too major.
You do a combination of abstract and also more representational work.
I've done everything as big as a 1,200 square foot mosaic mural at the bottom of a couple of pools, one of our local resort casinos here, down to little tiny plaques that people can buy for $25 and put in their home. And I've even, I'll show you a picture here in a minute, but I did a pet portrait of my cat, which might make an appearance during the interview. I took a course with Elizabeth Wright. She's here local to Reno Sparks. So it's been fun to work abstract as well as do the realistic pieces too. Some of the pictures that I'll be submitting, I've done underwater scenes and landscapes and fun kind of cartoony type things with a project that I did with a local place called Urban Roots. They work with kids to talk about sustainable farming.
Are there particular artists who influenced your work?
The first artist that influenced my work was actually a local mosaic and fused glass artist named Ann Cascarano, and I've always admired her work. I'm a very tactile person, so the kind of art that I'm drawn to is art that you want to touch and feel, and I think that that's why I was drawn to mosaics from a young age. And when I saw my friend Ann's work, she wasn't my friend at first, but I had always admired her work. She created her own ceramic tiles to incorporate into her mosaics. So they're big and bold and chunky. And I happened to meet her by chance at a charity fundraiser. We ended up sitting right next to each other. I had no idea that was her. And we met and hit it off. And it just so happened that the week that I quit my day job and took the plunge to go into mosaics full time, she called me to see if I wanted to work on a big project with her and assist her. So she taught me a lot when I was very first starting out in mosaics. Since then, I'd say Kelly Knickerbocker out of Seattle, who has Ribbonworks Mosaics. I'm most drawn to her style, and I love it because I did go to a workshop with her in Seattle. It's been a little over a year ago, but she also offers courses online, and I think that was one of the silver linings with COVID is all of the workshops that you can do online right now, and it's really upped my game in kind of going to that next phase of my mosaics. Yes, so these are, sorry, I'm having a hard time. So these are some of the pieces that I brought with me from my studio. Not only my cat portrait, but just some of the, I'd say, regular mosaics that I've done, and then this new style that's more three-dimensional on either side of the cat. And then that's a belly cast that I did. That was a series, oh, and right behind me, this one right here, I forgot that was even up there. That was a course that I took in Ravenna, many, many years ago. So probably right as I was thinking about quitting my day job to get into mosaics, I took a course with Luciana Naturney. Had no idea of her renown when I signed up for that class. She's a very renowned mosaic artist and just a lovely person. But that was my first foray into smalty work, which is glass using a hammer and hardy.
When you're doing the murals, it must be more challenging, I'm assuming, than the small pieces.
Yeah, so when I'm doing a mosaic mural, it generally starts out with a sketch and just laying out the pieces. When I did the resort casino, the 1,200 square foot mural, that was actually drawn out on AutoCAD and printed out to scale. And then we cut it up into manageable pieces. And then I created almost like a map for them to follow to install it. So, they could peel the design off the mesh and install it directly into the pool. Generally, I work directly onto like hardybacker board or weedy board or some other substrate to where the installers can put that in themselves. So I generally don't do the installation myself. I just create the art.
How long would it take to create a mosaics piece of art?
The background, so the cat portrait that I did, that was a full weekend workshop, and it still took me a couple of days to finish that. So that one was probably maybe a total of 15 or 20 hours. The little mosaic mirror in the foreground that is like rainbow colors, that's a quickie one. I could do that in about an hour and a half. And so it's nice to be able to create a variety of things like that. Some of the mosaics that I sell in my studio and I take to shows, I can knock those out pretty quickly. And it's nice because then I can put a good price point on those. And so they're available to people that can afford a wide variety of price points.
So you're using different materials.
Mhm. When I started out with mosaics, I was generally using glass tile and a little bit of stained glass, and I've evolved into more of a kind of mixed media approach, where I'm using everything from twigs and shells and broken pottery. Um, oh gosh, just the possibilities are endless of different things that you can use, and that's what's fun about where I'm going right now with my mosaics is more of a multimedia approach.
did you decide to do yoga and Reiki?
I had a friend who had a yoga studio about 10 years ago, and I was just getting into yoga, and she was running a teacher training program and offered me a really good deal to sit in on it and become a yoga teacher. And at the time, I thought I would just kind of use that training to further my practice. But then when I completed my yoga training, I realized that there was a need for yoga teachers who were really focused on beginner yogis. And, you'd go to a class where it's a vinyasa class and you can barely keep up and you're afraid to get that you're going to be injured, that you're probably not doing it right, and there's 30 people packed into a room. And so when I started teaching yoga, it was geared towards the people who were either beginners or maybe an older population that were hesitant, who tried yoga classes and just felt very overwhelmed. And so my approach is very anatomy based and very gentle. And yeah, people ask me a lot. They're like, okay, so you have a yoga studio within your mosaic studio. How do those two things relate? Well, I've noticed that over the years, people who come to yoga come because they want to try something new physically, while they keep coming back because of what it does inside and what it does for your soul. And same thing with mosaics. People come to a mosaic class wanting to try something new creatively, and they stay because the process is meditative. And so we call ourselves a healing arts center at Coppercat Studio. I don't think I mentioned that. That's the name of my studio, Coppercat Studio. And it's because we've created a place to where people can come and feel nurtured, body, soul, creatively, especially over the last couple of years with COVID. People wanted a nice, safe place to escape their troubles and come and create and forget about life for a little while.
You chose mosaics and yoga, and both are thousands years old practices.
They are, and that wasn't intentional. None of this was intentional. It just kind of happened. I got my Reiki Master certification actually before my yoga teacher certification. And although that's not something that I'm not actively doing sessions right now, I do use Reiki in my day-to-day life. And just a simple explanation of Reiki is energy healing.
What's it like to work with the body and the mind in yoga and the energy centers in Reiki?
I think yoga and Reiki goes hand in hand. We actually sometimes do a yoga class that incorporates Reiki, where we do yin postures. And as the students sit in their, or remain in their yin postures, myself or another Reiki practitioner will go around to each student and facilitate Reiki.
Some schools are incorporating yoga into their curriculum, and some parents understand it, some parents don't. How would you guide someone to understand and embrace yoga?
I understand the hesitation, but I think it's a simple explanation. I think especially if someone comes from a very religious background, they may be hesitant to think that there is a component of yoga that might conflict with their religious beliefs. And it really isn't. I know plenty of people who are all different kinds of religions that go to yoga. I have friends who teach Christian-based yoga. I think you can incorporate it. It's just once you start doing yoga, yes, the physical practice is great, but the meditation component, I think, is what transforms people. We actually have a yoga program here that was created by my friend Hannah, and it's called Urban Lotus, and they teach yoga to mostly young people who might be struggling for whatever reason, and give them a safe place to learn how to meditate. And even just the simple stretching part of yoga helps release endorphins, and it's I think something very important to incorporate. So not just the physical aspect of being active with your body and creating a sense of balance and that type of thing, but the mental part of the meditation part of it, I think, is kind of the surprise for people, and what they keep coming back for. I think it's very important to maybe introduce that to the younger generation so that they have those tools in their tool belt to handle stress and to handle anxiety, and know that they can stop if they're in a stressful situation and focus on their breath and just take a minute and maybe react a little bit differently than they normally would.
Are you also working with specific groups?
Currently, in Reno, we have a couple of different programs in addition to Urban Lotus that works with youth. We also, my friend Kathy Randolph, I taught at her studio for many years. She teaches yoga for the special child, and so kids on the spectrum, that type of thing. So there are programs like that. My particular practice focuses on, well, I wouldn't say it focuses, but how just kind of, sorry, my cat's joining us, how my practice has evolved is most of my students are, I would say, 50 to 70 years old, and it's nice to be able to offer yoga to that group of people. I know when I started taking my yoga certification training, I remember my mom was really interested in it, and she still lives in Oklahoma, and so she started taking Tai Chi, and very quickly loved it and started her training to become an instructor at 75. And she was talking about how one time she was in the shower after just taking Tai Chi for maybe 6 weeks, and she was washing her hair, and she started to lose her balance, and her body automatically shifted its center of gravity, and she didn't fall. And I think that is just, that's huge for that age group. And so if I can help people gain a better sense of their balance, and through the yoga practice and helping with flexibility, the more flexible we are, the stronger we are, the more that we can catch our balance, we're not going to have injuries that could be pretty severe at those ages, which I'm coming up on pretty soon. So
a lot of those who want to learn yoga feel slightly intimidated by these yoga teachers we see in the media, who may have been gymnasts earlier in their lives, and of course everything they do is perfect. And that's very intimidating for someone who has a stiff body and doesn't have that kind of.
And that is exactly who the type of student that I attract are the people who went to that yoga class and see the yoga teacher all in a pretzel and upside down, and or they can't keep up with a very strenuous vinyasa practice, and then they come to my class and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this and I feel great. So I love teaching to that niche.
How do you see yoga in a time of advanced technology?
Right now, it's fantastic. I love teaching in-person classes. My yoga studio at Coppercat Studio is very small. I can only fit myself and about 4 or 5 students, and so I like that personalized instruction. But for example, since COVID started, one of my favorite teachers, Ada Lasardi out of Berkeley, California, she has started teaching online and doing her weekend workshops online. And before, when she would come to Reno to teach a weekend workshop, I'd have to completely close down my studio. I'd have to spend, the entire weekend there. And now she offers these same online workshops. And not only can you do it at your own time and pace, she lets you have the program for 60 days. And I love it because I can go back and I can take notes, and I can really immerse myself in the practice in a way that I couldn't do just attending a weekend workshop, and I don't have to close down my studio. So I think right now the technology component for being able to do yoga workshops and mosaic workshops and all kinds of other things, it's a great supplement. I don't think it can replace actually being there. A lot of people have asked me, like with mosaic class, they ask if I can start teaching online or if I'm, want to do Zoom classes. And for me, I like looking over somebody's shoulder and saying, hey, you might want to try this or you might want to try that. Like we talked about before, the various pieces and tessera and things that you can incorporate into a mosaic, that's hard to send somebody a package because I might have 10 students in class at my studio. Well, we all start off with the same substrate, which is usually a piece of wood board. None of the projects end up looking alike. And so for what I teach, I don't really think I can do that online. But for some people, like my favorite teacher, Kelly Knickerbocker, she teaches online at Mosaic Arts Online. And hers is more of a technique class. And so for that kind of class, that is completely suited to online. And once again, that's one of those programs where once you buy the course, you can go back and look at it. And so I think that there is a place for all of it. I think we're always going to want to have in-person workshops, whether it's yoga or mosaics or art, but I think there is also a niche for the online presence as well. Yeah, simple props. A block, actually 2 blocks, a strap, a tennis ball. We do a lot of myofascial release with a tennis ball, and potentially a foam roller. But I think a good mat, if you have knee problems, maybe getting a mat that's thicker so that it's easier on your feet, easier on your knees. I usually have a blanket with me. I have a bolster. And so just the basic props that you see. And I also want to encourage people, don't be afraid to use props. I sometimes even see my regular yogis, they'll struggle to try to get into a posture without using the help of props. And I can see them straining, or I can see their alignment falling out. To me, props aren't a sign of incompetence or failure or yeah, I think we want to get to a place to where we're maybe not using props, but a lot of times props help us to get in proper alignment without using muscles that we shouldn't be using. So don't be afraid to use props.
What are the favorite poses or postures that your students use?
I would say so. The favorite things that my particular group of students, we like to generally wrap up with about 20 minutes of yin yoga versus like the regular active practice of yoga. My students love yin, whether it's just a traditional yin posture or what we call wall yin. And so using the wall as support with your legs up the wall. And so there's modifications of all the different traditional yin postures that you can do against the wall. And I think just gentle postures that make yoga approachable to the people that come to my classes who want to experience the benefits of yoga, but like we talked about earlier, maybe they were intimidated going to another class. So something my teacher Ada and her and another teacher that works with her, another Katie, we use chairs a lot. I think that chair yoga has gotten kind of a bad rap as like older people yoga, but using a chair as a prop has really transformed my practice, and that's something that I'm introducing to my students as well.
Is there a time of the day when body responds better to yoga?
I think that is a very personal thing. I know some people who immediately get up and do their yoga practice before they do anything. I teach a couple of classes a week. One is in the morning, one is in the afternoon at about 4 p.m. And as far as my home practice, for me, it's just whenever I can do it. So usually in the morning before I go to the studio at about 10 a.m. And a yin practice is great before you go to bed. And so just something, even just very gentle stretching can actually help you sleep better. Generally, when I'm looking at a book, a lot of times it's anatomy based. It's not yogic philosophy. And of course, I read all of those kinds of books when I was doing my teacher training. But as I've gone through my yoga practice and the teachers that I tend to follow, it's very anatomy based. My massage therapist, who I go to mainly for maintenance, it's not really like a frou-frou massage. She helps me a lot with understanding anatomy. And so I think my approach when I'm teaching is more anatomy based versus the chakras and all of that. I mean, and I think that's great. That type of thing is more part of my Reiki practice versus my particular yoga practice.
What do you feel the biggest misunderstandings around yoga are today, besides the religious ones?
That it's a young person's practice. And that's what you see. You see these people twisted up like pretzels and on Instagram, and the perfect body and little teeny tiny skinny women. And yoga is for everyone. It's for every body type. It's for every age. It can be for anybody that wants to do it. And there's always going to be a modification to fit your not only body type, but your body structure. I always say in class that, you might be trying to sit in a lotus position, and there are going to be some people whose knees never get to the ground, and it doesn't have anything to do with flexibility. It doesn't have anything to do with how many years they've been doing yoga. That's just the way the head of their femur fits into their hip joint. Like, I think you see these pictures online in different yoga journals or social media, and think that it's like, oh, if I can't get my arm right by the side of my head, well, the way your bone structure is, you may not ever get there. And just knowing that that's not a deficiency in you, it's just your body structure, I think that helps ease students, not ease, but it helps their confidence, that it's like, oh, okay, that's why I can't ever get there. It's body structure. It has nothing to do with me trying for hours and hours and hours to achieve this perfection of a posture.
Do you also do retreats?
I've done some retreats. Obviously, COVID has put a nix on that. I actually, right before COVID, I was looking for properties, because that's what I have always wanted the next evolution of my business to be, since I have the mosaics, since I have yoga and meditation. I also love to cook. I've always wanted a retreat center, and before COVID, that was the direction we were going. I was looking for properties, and I think that'll eventually be the evolution of Coppercat Studio, but right now we're in a really good place where we are, and we're going to keep doing what we do. But yes, I would love to offer a retreat where you go away for, or we have people in, I guess I should say, for like a long weekend, where we wake up on Friday morning and we do a meditation and a light yoga practice, and then we do cooking demonstrations, and we're eating healthy food, and then maybe we do an art class in the afternoon, and just a series of combining all of that for an entire weekend. That's my dream.
A lot of people think that if they do yoga, they have to stop eating certain things.
I think that there are certain yogic traditions where the food and diet is very intertwined into the yoga practice. I don't think it has to be that way. I think with any practice, whether it's yoga or any type of fitness, anytime you're wanting to be good to your body, I think you start making better decisions as far as nutrition and eating, drinking, that type of thing. So in my particular practice, I don't follow a strict diet, but I crave healthier things. Thank you for listening to my journey and how Coppercat Studio came to be. And I encourage you to be open to potentially trying new art workshops or projects, whether if you live close to us, please come visit Coppercat Studio, or whoever is offering art workshops in your town. Even the sip and paint places, we don't drink and do art at our studio, but those sip and paint places have kind of paved the way. They've gotten people a little bit more confident to maybe try art studios, so maybe try one of those. If you're thinking about doing something that's different physically, if you want to try yoga, there's going to be a yoga studio out there that isn't too intimidating. You just got to find it. And if you do go to a yoga class and it's too intense, it's okay to not do the postures. It's okay to listen to your body and maybe back off if a teacher is trying to get you to do something that you're uncomfortable with. And yeah, just don't be afraid to try those new things that are going to nurture your body as well as your spirit.
Do you have any workshops coming up?
We at Coppercat Studio, we generally have anywhere from 10 to 15 workshops a month. I teach all of the mosaic workshops, and I have an in-house artist who rents space from me, and she teaches fused glass and mixed media. And then we have other artists who are visiting artists, who are visiting instructors who come in and teach everything from alcohol inks and wire sculpture and needle felting and basket making. We have about 10 different visiting artists who come on a regular basis in just about as many mediums. Like me, who, yeah, I got a degree doing something else, but then I forged my way back into the art world and actually kind of successful. And I don't know, I'm hoping to see, and hopefully things like this are going to help people see that they don't have to become a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. And the arts are so important, especially right now, with all of everything shutting down with COVID. So much of the arts was shut down, and I think we really realized that how important going to concerts were, and going to art openings, and be able to take an art class. And when that's taken away, people realize that all of these things are really important.